Hi guys, it's me. Welcome back to the third episode of Film Analysis. I'm so excited. You don't even know. I say that during every intro, but I'm just really excited because I honestly love doing this. And a good thing happened today, but I can't say it because they might be listening. But just know it was good on my part. So yeah, okay. Today's film analysis. Can you take a guess? 50 Shades Freed, the third film and final film in the trilogy. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. And there was actually less notes than there was this time, and then last time, and then like the time before that. So I was actually really surprised, but they're pretty concise and kind of apply to the whole movie. So without any further ado, let's get started. So the director is James Foley again, and also the screenwriter is Niall Leonard again. I noticed that, and I was really confused because I thought there was a different screenwriter at least. I knew that James directed it, but I was really surprised that Niall wrote it again. And I found out that E.L. James' husband is Niall Leonard, and she put him in to write the last two movies because she didn't like the first one, I guess. Not for sure, but I'll do more research on that and maybe make a video on it. Probably won't though. The first thing, I loved the wedding montage so much, and the voiceover with Christian in the background, and then the cut to like the actual wedding was gorgeous. I loved it. The wedding set and the costume design, I loved that too. It was also gorgeous. I'm gonna need to learn some more adjectives because the last three things all I've said is love, like, gorge. And even my mom said that. Then when they cut to when they're leaving and they're in the car, I love the capital letters in the background. I love that song in general. It's such good motivation. Then skipping to honeymoon, I loved how they actually shot in Paris and Italy. It was great. I loved that. I like the realism of that, and I really plan on shooting my movies in like the actual locations such as Paris and Italy if I plan on doing movies there. Again, for the third time, the tech pops up are gorgeous. I love just text pop-ups. When someone is breaking into great enterprises, I love the mystery of it. I love how it didn't show them specifically in like a face front shot of who it was. Even if you could guess who it was, I loved that still. After they're leaving the beach and they're on the jet ski, I liked the shots of like them riding in, the music. It all just felt so paradise. It felt like paradise. I don't know what that means, but interpret that how you will. The lighting during the boat sex scene, I loved it. It really highlighted kind of the tropical mood of the boat, and like also the punishment kind of feel to that, but like also the love to that, because Christian doesn't really punish her anymore per se, because she likes it, so it's not really punishing. And then I also love the music and camera angles that also fit the mood. When they zoom in on the camera footage on the boat after the lady calls, I forgot her name, and tells Christian that someone blew up the data room. I don't know. Business talk, I don't understand. But I like how Anna knew who it was. And I liked the whole pacing of that scene because it really showed how she took the thought into thinking about who it was, but like quickly, and it showed how she immediately knew who it was. When they get back to Seattle and they're walking into Christian's apartment, I kind of wondered why he was carrying her. I didn't really like that direction. I would have done that differently, but whatevs. In the kitchen when Gail is asking Anna about how she wants to run the household, I liked that conversation. I felt like Gail really understood and cared for like how Anna was feeling, especially since Gail has never seen Christian with a girl who's actually like stayed and they've got married and stuff like that. So I felt like she was like very unfamiliar with like how to handle that, and I love how she did. When Christian and Anna are in the kitchen and she's fixing the steak, I liked how the direction was when she like went behind him and kissed his neck. Then went and got the stuff out of the oven, put it on his plate, and then joked with him. I liked the pacing of that part too. It was all good. And then when they're talking about kids, I appreciated how emotional it was, but like not over the top emotional. I felt like that was like a good, serious conversation. I felt like that was a real take on how that could actually happen in real life. When she gets back to the office for the first time, I loved the set design. I love how they redid that for Anna, and it felt like it wasn't important, but it felt homey. And I like how they filled it up. And then when Hannah comes in, I thought the where they talked about Sawyer was funny, and I felt like that was really, like I said about Kate and Anna in the first episode, it was like girlhood, and I love that. I didn't like how quick the gap between Anna getting to work and Christian coming in was. This is when she was talking to the author, and he called and was like, "Why don't you go by the name Gray? Why are you still Steel?" And then he came in. I felt like that was a little too quick and a little unrealistic. When Kristen picks her up and they drive to somewhere, I loved Big Spender in the background. Big boy, bougie shot collar. Boys are loud in my aura. This is what I'm missing out for his dollar. I'm the big spender. I feel like that was good music in the background. Because it kind of feels like a rich song, and Christian's rich. Because it's about big spending. I don't know where I'm going on with that, but it was good. I loved it. The camera angles were also gorgeous. I loved the camera angles. The shot of the car, and then like outside the car, inside the car, panning on Christian, panning on Anna. When they get out of the car and they finally see where Christian took them, the kiss after was perfect. And I felt like that really interpreted how much she really loved the house. Because like he remembered that she liked it when they were on the boat. Because that's the house they were talking about when you're on the boat. I loved that, and I loved how the kiss was just like, I'm so glad you remembered this. You're such an amazing person. I love the subtle flirting from the architect with Christian, because he was like touching his shoulder, and like, the way she spoke kind of hinted that she was flirting, and I loved how subtle it was, but like not because like you could tell, but like it was subtle. So yeah. When they were inside the house and the architect was showing Christian and Anna the blueprints for what she plans on doing, I liked how they showed the blueprints. It was good camera angle on that, because you could tell I really appreciate seeing like documents or like whatever they're showing in front of them. It just makes it more realistic. It makes me feel like I'm more in the moment. When Christian leaves to go on the phone call, I loved how Anna talked to the architect. It really showed how she was serious, but like in the Anna way.
I'm sure you're very good at what you do.
Which is very gentle but threatening. I love that. All the direction was great. This isn't really an analysis part, but when she gets in the car and starts driving, I wrote, her driving is how I normally drive. That's a joke. Oh, that's a joke. I don't drive like that. The chase scene was perfect from
sweat and dripping wet, and I just can't control myself, no baby.
Just like a song.
Baby, I got fun selection.
I wanna smack it,
Drag it, smack it, no shit that turns you on.
kiss it,
Kiss it,
everything you want.
calling out
Feel the vibes. When the wolf comes out tonight. I feel like that was a good song for the chase scene. The camera angles of like the cars and like them swerving past the cars, shooting back to Sawyer or whoever that was in the car, and then to the car that's chasing them. I love that. This isn't really a con, But I wonder if that was actually filmed on like an actual highway, or if it was like CGI'd in. Because if it was filmed on the actual highway, that's crazy. I loved the quick adrenaline sex scene. I feel like it was directed really good, from like the breathing noises, the camera shots, and how paced it was. I like how you can think it's Mrs. Robinson who was chasing them, because it just says girl.
Where's Layla Williams right now?
But is it though? It was a good mystery. I loved the lighting and direction during the argument scene. It's the one after they get back, and
You know I can't go to New
she gets
York.
onto
I have to
Christian's
work.
lap, and
Take her with you.
because he wants her to go to New York with him
I have to
because
show
he has a
up. I
business.
have responsibilities. You can't keep me in a cage.
That's what I'm talking
That's
about.
what you
I liked
said.
how
I
it was
will be
just so
safe. I have Sawyer and Prescott.
not really argumenty, but like it showed how they're like kind of
fine.
bickering, and I love the compromise because that's a good theme in this movie. Then after she starts to give him a haircut, she was just like, "You need a haircut," and then he finally lets her cut his hair. I love that whole scene, especially when he untied her shirt and then him pulling her onto his lap. I found that was very Christian, and like it was playful, and I really like this whole movie. I enjoyed getting to see more of a playful Christian instead of just the uptight, you know, that Christian. I like seeing more playful, lovey-dovey Christian because it shows he's slowly opening up. Then when he rubbed his hair on her, that was also something I thought was very playful. When she found the gun when she was looking for the scissors, I loved the direction and lighting of that. Like, it was kind of dark, so like you couldn't really see, but it was lit just enough to like where you knew it was the gun, that she was distraught that she found a gun, and you could tell that she knew whose gun it was. Then when she went back to Christian, it was like, why do you have a gun? Why do you have Layla's gun? And I loved the communication during that. It was portrayed beautifully. When Christian left for New York, that morning I didn't like the close-up of the kiss. Oddly enough. Then when she's texting, I was confused at why her phone model changed from movie 2 and 3. I don't know why that changed, but maybe they lost the prop. Who knows? I loved the acting and direction of Dinner with Kate. I felt like that was also so girlhood. I loved how realistically that was portrayed, and they both, you could tell there's real emotions in that, because both her and Kate were like bonding over like some little bit of pain they have about how rushed they got into relationships with two brothers. I loved the close-up of the ring where she's like looking at it, and I liked how it showed it because it was gorgeous. And I really liked that. When Anna goes back to Christian's apartment, I loved how the Jack scene was lit. It showed mystery in that, but like also fear when he like came up behind her. And I loved how the Jack actor acted that. It was great. Then in the morning when Anna wakes up and Christian is back from New York, I loved how he acted that entire scene, because you could tell he was pissed, but he wasn't going to do anything to like permanently hurt her. When Christian walked past her and went to shower, I loved when she walked in there. That whole shower scene was gorgeous. It was lit perfectly, and I loved the direction of it, like how they like touched, how Anna touched him. He kind of like, you could tell he didn't want to give in, but he wanted to at the same time. And then after that, the cut to the work, I felt like that was a good smooth cut. Loved it. That night when Anna and Christian go back into the red room, I loved how he tied the blindfold around her and then led her up to the red room, and then it showed the red room really good. I loved the camera shots, the music, and the lighting. The red room always has good lighting. I loved Anna's acting when she realized that Christian was punishing her, and this wasn't just a simple red room pleasure. And Christian's when he was like, this is what you do to me. This is how frustrated I feel when you say things you mean and then do the opposite. I loved it. And then after that, the communication scene in the red room was perfectly done. I loved
Christian, that was revenge.
when she wrapped the blanket around him after. This just showed how genuine they both cared about each other. And I loved that simple detail of them having that communication in the red room, and then her wrapping that blanket around him, kind of as a sign of comfort. I loved the phone call scene when he was outside of her work, and they were calling, and he was like, I'm gonna take you somewhere special. And then she was like, well, do I get to know where we're going this time? I just loved how that was done. And then the whole scene after that, like on the plane when like her friends are there and like all surprise. I loved that. It felt so happy, and the emotion was clearly positive. Then the set design of the lodge, I loved it. It was done so well, and I loved it. The balcony scene with Christian when he was singing and playing the piano, I loved the quick shots to like the three of them and then back to Christian, and the audio felt like it was actually like echoing throughout the lodge, and I appreciated that. It was good sound production. And then I loved the simple direction of how everyone left. Anna stayed and listened to them. I loved that. The bathtub scene after that is, I loved how it was lit and the direction was perfect. I loved how like the slight movements in the water, and then her going over to Christian. I loved that, and I feel like they portrayed the dialogue good in that scene. When they go to bed that night, I did not like the nightmare scene for Anna. I felt like it was a little too scripted. Maybe a little bit bridge would help between those, or maybe just cut that scene altogether. I felt like it was a little too scripted. The whole late night kitchen scene was gorgeous. However, when Anna's on the table and Christian is looking in the fridge, I love how she talks and then he turns around. But why does he say, oh, I was looking for you? Were you looking for her in the fridge or something?
I've already talked to pint to myself.
Like, what? But other than that, the music, the lighting, the acting, the sex scene, the dialogue, and the volume of the dialogue especially, and then the direction of like that whole scene. I loved it. It was all so fitting of how they're like in a lodge full of like people they care about. They had to be quiet, but at the same time, they didn't really care. They're kind of lost in pleasure. So I liked how they had the best of both worlds there. Then I also loved how they like laughed about her knocking the apples off. That felt so real and like in the moment. Cause like if you made a mistake during Bow Chicka Wow Wow time, I feel like you would laugh. And if you don't laugh, then I'd be really embarrassed if we both didn't laugh. So I loved the wood sets when they went, like the wood set when they went on the hike. I don't know if that was CGI, but I liked it. The direction of the shop scene, I loved how they kind of like hid Kate from Elliot talking to the architect. I like how that was done. I loved the club setting.
2 bottles of orange and 6 glasses of
And then the acting is perfect when Elliot proposes to Kate. The music and lighting after that is gorgeous too, like when they're dancing. I loved it. Then the red room scene after that to I Feel Good. I loved it. It's perfection. I feel good. I know that I'm with now. I feel good, babe. Like sugar and spice. That's not the lyrics to the correct order, but loved it. And I loved the cuts also to her thinking about it during work. I liked how they told it through her thinking about it instead of it just happening and then her thinking about it. I loved that. Oh my gosh, you don't even know. And then you like when the sex scene ends, when the assistant comes in, like Hannah, and interrupts Anna, and it ends there. That kind of brought me into the moment. I didn't like the pacing of the court scene, and I can't help but wonder how did he notice her, because I felt like she was kind of in the back too far for him to actually notice her. But I don't know. Movie magic? We'll never know. I loved how we finally got to meet Dr. Green. I said in the second episode how I hated how we didn't get to meet Dr. Green. I'm glad we finally got to meet her in the third movie. Then I loved how they did the pregnancy announcement with Anna's reaction, because you could tell she was in a way kind of happy, but then she knew so bad that Christian would be mad, and he wouldn't be happy. So that kind of brought her down a little bit
It's heartbeat.
and caused her to not be happy.
Where?
And then I loved how she told Christian,
And your
that
other
whole
assistants
scene,
will tell the
him
detectives
getting
how to
mad,
I have plans for
and then
us.
how she reacted after he left with,
I
like,
wanted
when
to
she
give you
did
the
this with,
world.
like, her hands. I loved that. And then the lighting and I like how far the camera was back when Anna did that. I like how Sia always reappears in each soundtrack for each movie. I liked that because it kind of shows continuation. And I love it. I loved the whole drunk Christian scene. I liked the dialogue, and you can tell he's like a lot more playful and silly when he's drunk and unserious, and I love that. And the actions, like when he like leaned onto her, and then when he puts his head under her shirt, I love that too. And then he says, "You're gonna take her from me, aren't you?" Like he's talking to the baby. I love that. I'm glad they kept that in. I loved the acting when Christian was looking for Anna the next morning. And then I loved how they knocked 3 times on the door, but then like he walked away. And then I loved how it panned over to Anna. However, I do wish she was asleep. I feel like that would have been a little bit more of a funny plot point. But then I liked how they also kept her awake because it showed how she was pissed at him for going to Mrs. Robinson. And continuing on that point, I loved how Anna was avoiding Christian. It was really well done. Then the argument scene, the emotions were so big and raw, and especially from Anna. She was on the brink of tears, and even at one point she did start crying a little bit.
I thought you were better than
And the redness and the makeup was done so well. The emotions for both of them. I just wish there was a little bit more from Christian, but
you did. You confided in
it was
her
good, I will admit.
about our
Then when she goes to work and she calls Kate back,
Hey, Christian's looking for you.
her almost crying on that phone call
Anna.
really showed how
Kate, don't.
good of a bond her and Kate have.
Talk later.
And I love that.
Yeah.
The call scene with Jack, I loved it.
Mia.
The camera cuts back and forth between the two, and then the dialogue delivery from both of them. I feel like it really fit the urgency of the situation. However, what didn't fit the urgency of the situation was Anna changing. Why did she have to change? I mean, we don't have time for this. I mean, I get she could have been uncomfortable in the dress, but your sister-in-law is kidnapped and about to die from your ex-boss. Do you really have to change fully? Like, I mean, at least put different shoes on so you're not running in heels. But do you have to change your whole outfit and put your hair up? Just didn't really fit the urgency of the situation. I liked how she tricked Sawyer. That was a good little her moment. And I loved how quickly he realized. And then she was already gone. I loved the camera panning from like the side of the corner of the car garage to like her in the car. Loved that. She parallel parks better than I do. That was just a little funny note. The phone call with Christian was greatly done. I loved how they showed him saying, "Do whatever she tells you to," when he gets back on the phone with the bank clerk. Camera shots with the car when Anna is in the car with, big reveal, that one girl, the redhead. I didn't know her name last movie. I'm not gonna know it now. And then back and forth from Christian's car back to that car. It was great. The whole scene in the building was great. I loved the acting, especially from like Mia when she first like sees her, and then Anna running over to her, but then Jack stopping her, and then when it kicks her and punches her, it was greatly done. And then the redhead coming over and saying, "I thought you were getting killed." He says, "He's not dead yet." And then he keeps doing it, and she's on the ground, and then boom, Christian's there. That whole scene was great. Loved the pacing too. The hospital scene was emotional and so raw. Oh my gosh, I can't. You could tell he really loves her, and after that really big scare, he's finally come to terms with, hey, I'm raising a kid. I'm gonna be a father. And I love how she reassures him. She's like, you're gonna be a great father. When Christian started crying when Anna was in the hospital, That made me so emotional. And you can tell from Anna's reaction that he never cries. I love that so much. Then we got to when Anna gets home. The whole cooking scene with Christian was like, I loved how fun it was. And the lighting was gorgeous. And then Diddy Bop in the background, I think that's what it was. I'm pretty sure. That was a good little song to like make it realistic. And you know I love the little music in the background. Because when you're cooking, you always listen to music. However, I hated the talking about them finding Christian's birth mom's burial place to the burial place. I feel like there could have been a little bit more conversation between there, like a little bit more reaction from Christian, a little bit more, hey, yeah, no, what do you mean they found her burial place? I didn't even know where it was. Like, there could have been more. Love Me Like You Do coming back again. I feel that's just such an iconic song for these movies. I love how they brought that back, especially for the montage of the other movies. I'm glad they did that because they kind of did a good little ending. Kind of. Here's what happened. Here's what you're now. And the lighting while she's watching Christian play, like for those clips, like this montage scenes. I can't focus on her because it was like right on her face. It's just beautiful. Then the red room scene. Then she went and got the pants, and she texted me and was like, "Come to the red room." I loved how it showed compromise. Because that's what the last movie was basically about. It was just like compromise, talking, communication. And when he closed the door, and he cut. I loved it. And then into the credits. And then I liked how it was like short credits, and then it cut to the future scene where she's like with her child, and then Christian comes up and she's pregnant again. I loved that. I'm glad they did that. That whole end scene with the house as she saw, and he bought it for her, and they ended up living in it with their children. It was such a perfect end to the whole trilogy. They brought it all together. I wish there was a fourth movie just to navigate like the Red Room style and like how they do that with kids and just how they are as parents. There doesn't have to be a lot of sex in it. It could be wholesome. Oh my god. Well, we finally come to an end of the 50 Shades trilogy. Overall, these movies are some of my favorites. Not only because of the awesome adult scenes, but because of the raw emotions that hide underneath. The first movie, you have realization of love, sadness, and change. Then the second one, you have change as well, but also pain and grief, because you have to give up something that you once thought you needed, but now you're finally realizing there's more. And then the third movie was this communication and compromise and learning to be easy with your life and take it day by day, but really channel those emotions that you feel, and anger and stress. And even if some of it was corny, even if some of it was scripted and not done well, overall, the three movies, they all had cinematic elements that really just made it perfect and really stood out when trying to portray those emotions that I mentioned before. and it was all just done so well with lighting, acting, directing, and like writing. It was all just perfect, and I'm so glad I got to analyze them, even if we had some difficulty with uploading it. But yeah, I'll see you in the next episode. Try and guess what the next movie's gonna be. Bye.